Good morning, everyone. Our today topics on the auspicious day of Netaji's birthday, Kolkata might find sea at their doorstep. For this, we have our distinguished panelist, Sri Krishnendu Bandopadhyay, an eminent journalist by profession. He is a senior assistant editor with Times of India for last 20 years, and prior to this, he is associate with Economics Time. He covered transportation, energy, environment, and other national issues of extreme importance. And our other distinguished panelist, Dr. Obhijit Ghosh, a civil engineer and energy technologist, is working in National R&D Laboratory at Kolkata. He's very much passionate at energy and water conservation issues and extremely concerned about the forthcoming climate changes and related disastrous consequences Kolkata residents are going to face. Namaste, sir. Welcome to our program.
Namaste.
Welcome to our program, sir.
Namaste. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Krishnendu Babu, you can just start today's discussion. Krishnendu Babu.
Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You are audible.
Yes.
Okay. Actually, let me start with a story. In 2006-07, I went to in extreme south part of Bengal, particularly Sundarban region, and I went to Ghoramara Island. So that was quite an eye-opener for me. In 2011, there used to be a more than 5,000 population, and in 2007, it came down to 650 only. So that was quite a shock, quite a shocking development, because half of the island actually went down into the water, completely inundated. And only half of the island was surviving at that time. When I came back, I started writing about Ghoramara, but that was a beginning of the story. And I checked out, I found that a lot of islands in Sundarbans areas are actually eroding very fast. And a lot of climate refugees who are actually migrating from these islands to other islands like Sagar. And interestingly, Sagar Island itself is also eroding very fast. And sea is reclaiming a lot of land. And Sagar Island, because of a lot of infiltration by islanders, Sagar Island's socio-economic condition has changed very sharply. There has been a lot of stress because farmland is limited, and even farming has been greatly impacted by the climate changes, and there has been a sudden surge of population, which was affecting greatly the socio-economic condition of Sagar. So then I started investigating deeply into it, and I came across some horrific stories and some predictions how the sea level rising very sharply. In fact, globally, highest sea level rise was recorded at Diamond Harbour, where the sea level rise is very significant and erosion is very fast. Because you must have heard that a part of the National Highway 117 was completely broken down by surge of river water, and it impacted the fishing, which is the mainstay of life there. It impacted the livelihood. It impacted the farming, and a lot of things. And what we started apprehending came true when in 2019 a very significant report came out by IPCC. You all almost know Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. They came up with a warning, which said that by 2100, 100 years from now, 80 years from now, a vast land in West Bengal, almost all of Calcutta, will be completely inundated, and there will be impact, and there will be huge impact on our farming, and this can lead to a very serious food crisis. Within 2 months of this report, a very important report came out. That report is called. It actually magnified the climate risk we Calcutta might face in future. It's called Climate Central. It's a New Jersey-based climate science analysis organization. They came out with a report which actually told us that it's not 80 years, it's only 30 years. It's it's coming very fast. The disasters are approaching very fast towards us, and by 2050, the sea level rise will be abnormally high, and there will be massive flooding, and the flooding will continue for months. Months after months, and there will be a tremendous impact on livelihood. Huge amount of people will suddenly be climate refugee. They have to migrate from one place to another. Huge job loss, huge livelihood loss, and there will be a massive shifting. It will require massive shifting of people from one place to another. Almost half of West Bengal, almost entire South Bengal, and the estimation is that 4.5 crore people can be badly hit by this. Inundation. So and there were serious recommendations like what we have to do to stop it. We need to undertake some drastic steps like cutting down our carbon emissions. We have to cut down the thermal power production completely. Entire mass transport system have to switch to green energy like solar, hydrogen, or biofuels, and even the normal household fuel have to switch to absolutely clean fuel like CNG or LPG. It's complete shift, but in reality, afterwards we kept checking out the developments on the front of government and in general among people. But we were shocked to find that the general awareness about these reports among people and among government officials were very low, because they still find that they still try to argue that okay, 2050 we still have some time to deal with these issues, because 2050 is not very close to us. Uh, but what is very interesting that 2050, maybe 30 years down the line, but there is a huge there it requires a huge amount of preparation, huge amount of careful strategizing of things and implementation of a few things which need to be done immediately. And shockingly, none of we checked out the manifesto of different political parties. Unfortunately, in India, none of the political parties, whether it is left, BJP, Congress, or Trinamool Congress, none have any mention about the environment, climate change, and these issues, which should be the most prominent things in today's life, because these issues will determine our future, and it will, our progeny will be completely dependent on these issues. I think Dr. Abhijit Ghosh will take it forward, whatever I said, and if there are questions, I can definitely answer.
Sir, Abhijit sir, we want to also listen from you about this thing, sir.
Thank you, Krishnendu Babu. In fact, you started with your own experience, which cannot be, in fact, neither denied nor counter argumentative, because those are not read on books or on papers. That was seen by own eyes, and the impact has been felt on the skin itself. So Kolkatans, actually, first point is they are unaware, and particularly educated mass of people, they remain almost silent or almost dormant, so that actually nothing is going to happen during their lifetime. But we people, we used to forget that maybe our lives will be passed, or we may say just pass our days comfortably. But what would happen to our children, our grandchildren? Don't we have any duty for them? Or whatever damages or misuse and abuse we are causing to the nature knowingly. Now science is very clear. Science has certainly confirmed it, that it is happening due to anthropogenic emission, and it is absolutely man-made. There is no iota of doubt about it. Still we are just sleeping. So our this effort today, Krishnendu Babu and myself, we are just trying to make people aware that the situation is really very grave, and it is coming very fast. So we must take immediate action. And what action an individual can take? Of course, if we just see the these slides, then I'll be explaining from that scientific point of view. Shubham, please go to the next slide. Next one. Next one. This fully. See here, this all these graphs. A little bit more. Shubham, you increase it. So you see this land surface temperature. This is global picture where India is also included. Land surface temperature is increasing. Marine air temperature is increasing. Troposphere temperature, our nearest vicinity of the atmosphere, it is increasing. Our this ocean temperature is increasing. A little bit more. Shubham, lift it. Sea surface temperature is increasing. Arctic sea ice is decreasing. Glacier mass balance is decreasing, and overall our this sea level just a little bit up. This is the ultimate, just up, make it, just make it up, above. right. Up,
Above. Okay.
above. Above.
Yes,
No,
sir.
no, not earlier one, not earlier one. Next one.
Okay.
Next one. Next one.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
Yes. So this one, you just see this ultimate temperature increase and sea level rise. It is just increasing without maintaining any linear pattern or just slow pattern. It is increasing abruptly. And it is showing that by 2100, a major portion of global population will be facing the severe crisis, land loss, life loss, this livestock loss. Everywhere there will be disaster, and ultimately it has already started creating that climate refugee, what Krishnendu has already mentioned. Next one.
Yes, sir. I would. Yes, sir. I would like to question you that what are the status of coastal mega cities of the world for sea level position?
Okay, you just see from this particular figure of this globe,
Yes,
the red dots are showing those are the actually most vulnerable positions of the coastal megacities where the sea level rise will be impacting. And from that countries with highest urban population, you living in this low level, this coastal zone areas. So there, after China, our country is coming. So the most vulnerable position is China's, and next is coming our country, and then all other low-lying countries like Maldives, this Indonesia, all the Southeast Asian countries. Next.
sir. We also like to know what are the frequency and the pattern of the storm throughout the year experiencing by Indian coastal area actually.
Okay. See, this particular figure is showing that more or less this coastal, this cyclonic storm and severe cyclonic storm. There are categories: coastal storm CS and severe cyclonic storm SCS, and those are spread. Actually, those have been demarcated within Bay of Bengal and Arabian Sea. So our Kolkata is situated on Bay of Bengal part, and on Arabian Sea part, Mumbai is situated. You see that ultimately this during November, that's post-monsoon period, the SCS, severe cyclonic storm, and cyclonic storms are severe, actually observing the severe pattern in Bay of Bengal area in comparison with Arabian Sea area. So from this figure, it is another evidence that Kolkata is much vulnerable than even Mumbai, though Mumbai is also in a very critical position. Chennai and other Odisha coastal cities, small cities, those are also vulnerable, but Kolkata is under severe threat, and that has been actually being published. The story of or the warning signs about Kolkata are being published by all the world bodies since 2003. I was just accessing all the reports, and I found that since 2003, different global eminent bodies, they are just warning the people of India or the West Bengal that it is coming, and the situation is really vulnerable and dangerous. Next one.
Sir, another thing I would like to know, sir, from last few years is happening, like, what are the reason behind creation of thunderstorm in Indian state actually? The big thunderstorms, sir.
So see the frequency of thunderstorm, state-wise distribution of thunderstorm events during 1978 to 2012, it has been shown in this figure. So here you see West Bengal is topping the list, and West Bengal is followed by Assam. The main reason for creation of thunderstorm is absolute air pollution, the suspended particulate matter, which creates charging on the atmosphere. And due to those charging particles, this thunderstorm used to occur, and mostly the dust and all other suspended particulates are actually main culprit for creation of this thunderstorm. And we all Kolkatans know how frequently we are facing this thunderstorm and this loss of lives just abruptly, all of a sudden.
Sir, I have one more question to you, sir. Is this mega storm are due to this type of pollution creating the adversity created by this pollution, sir?
No, mega storms are being created due to this our global temperature rise, and global temperature rise is being created due to man-made causes like anthropogenic emission. There's this thermal power related coal emission and all other this fossil fuel related burning emissions and other reasons, land use and land change criteria also, and massive deforestation, all are actually adding to the reason, the single point reason of temperature increase. And there is another surprising fact. You just show the next slide, Shubham.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Here you see what Krishnendu Babu has told. This against one question in a parliament by one parliamentarian, Lok Sabha Speaker has informed or confirmed that the highest sea level rise has been occurring at Diamond Harbour, and we all the Kolkata people know how far it is from our own home. So the title is actually matching with this particular observation, which has been confirmed by none other than our Government of India representative, which cannot be denied by any chance or by any means. Next one.
Okay, sir. I have a question for Krishnendu sir. That how Kolkata is vulnerable to this change, sir.
You must have, Calcutta is highly vulnerable. Recently, Amphan showed it very clearly how vulnerable we are. All these cyclonic storms are caused by sea level temperature rise. And after Amphan, a city like Calcutta almost came to a grinding halt for 5-7 days. There were disruption of power, communication channels were completely broken, and even people couldn't have minimum basic water supply was disrupted. A lot of issues were there, but much bigger problem is the inundation, which will start happening because now the rainfall pattern has been completely erratic. For last few years, the rainfall pattern has changed massively. Kerala flood was an example. Instead of evenly distributed rainfall, now we are having a longer dry spell and suddenly huge cloud burst, which is inundating a large part of land. So these kinds of events will, the number of events will increase because of these climatic changes, and because of sea level rise, the water clearance will be delayed, and inundation will be for a longer period. And unfortunately, even though we have some flood shelters in Sundarban regions, I have personally seen, which are quite inadequate compared to the population. But for Calcutta, it is even far worse. We have people living in low-lying areas have no place to move if there is a long inundation, because there are some school buildings, but those school buildings are highly inadequate to give shelters to to flood victims, and there will be these floods are being predicted that they will be for a longer period, and there is no preparation on the part of the government or on the part of the civil society to supply their food, to take them to a safer place, and our drainage system, which should have been augmented, have not been augmented. So a huge series of disasters are actually awaiting. Yeah, Dr. Abhijit Ghosh, if you want to supplement it.
Yeah, sir, I have also a question for you. How to face the problem of climate refugee? Now we are seeing in Kolkata that lots of people are shifting from Sundarban to this area. So how to we can eradicate the problem, sir?
Yeah, actually, that is quite that has to happen, because these people who were actually, I can give you an example of Ghodamara. Ghodamara was quite a big land with a lot of farmlands there. When they lost their lands and when they had to migrate to a place called Sagar Island, they actually lost their livelihood forever. And in Sagar Island, they have no land, they have no job opportunity, and the livelihood become a very questionable thing. So they started migrating from rural areas to urban areas, and Calcutta is the nearest urban area they have. So a lot of these Ghodamara residents are now living in a very poor condition in Calcutta, in the fringes of the city. They are working as a domestic help. They are working as a odd job laborers, and these phenomena will start increasing if inundation happens in Sundarban, because we are mutually dependent on mutually dependent. Sundarban is dependent on us. We are dependent on Sundarban. Sundarban is our first line of defense. The entire, if you see the mangrove forest of Sundarban, it is called our Raksha Kavach. It will be the first line of defense against any natural disaster. But I was told that across all along the coastal region, there has been a massive deforestation in Sundarbans also. So a lot of this mangrove forest have actually eroded. So our first line of defense are getting choked, are getting destroyed, and now we are exposing to this risk far more. And a lot of people who are now migrating from these smaller island to Sundarbans, they are also cutting forest. They are also destroying forests for their new habitation. So we are actually sitting on a time bomb. That's what the situation Calcuttans may face in near future.
Okay. Shubham, you are not audible. You are not audible.
My question to Abhijit sir. Abhijit sir, do you have any idea to eradicate this condition of climate refugees?
No, this issue is particularly, it is societal and governmental. So I think we are not in a position to comment on this. And what Krishnendu Babu is told, that it is absolutely amply clear that it is happening, it is going to happen in bigger figure, and finally as societal animal, we all have to face or share the consequences. That much I can say at this moment. Next.
Sir, I have question to Krishnendu sir. That defense mechanism for flood resilient countries shown in this slide. Okay, they are building up lots of different mechanism. As we can adopt this thing, matlab, for the future, or we will do different thing to safeguard us.
I can tell you that Sundarbans being there are some very indigenous resilient system we have. Sundarbans for centuries have seen floods, seen this kind of now Sundarban is facing far more frequently, but Sundarban has been facing all these natural disasters quite often. And we have a very, our next door neighbor, Bangladesh, has seen a much more disaster. And Bangladesh is an example how to deal with such disasters so effectively, because Bangladesh is the worst hit by cyclones, by storms, by floods, by all kinds of natural disasters. Because whenever any natural disasters came across the way, it suddenly soared towards Bangladesh, and Bangladesh faced the fury of nature. But Bangladesh did it very efficiently. I have gone to Bangladesh and I have seen some coastal. I've gone to some coastal areas of Bangladesh and saw how they have developed a SOP, standard operating procedure. In case of any disaster, they have a very robust warning system, and they have a very well accounted SOP to how to take the entire population to a very safer place, how to build embankment along the coastal region, how to build the resilient flood shelters, how to maintain a supply line during such disasters. So we can learn it from Bangladesh, and we have our indigenous knowledge and wisdom to deal with this. But somehow these things are completely ignored by ignored at the government level, where a proactive, a very serious initiatives should be taken. Because unless government is alert, government is aware of these warnings, nothing can move really.
Actually, at this point, I just want to add that Krishnendu, of course, government has to take the initiative or action, but we, the society or common people, we must be aware at the first instance, and we must start talking, discussing. We must force government to take action and to declare climate emergency the way it is happening globally in all the developed countries. Citizens are forcing government to declare it as climate emergency, and finally, all the developed countries government, they have already agreed to this point, and one by one they are declaring climate emergency. And at this point of time, we Kolkatans, we must raise our voice to our leaders or the decision makers or decision takers. Please, please, please take some action so that our next progeny should not be washed away just by nature's fury due to their forefathers or their fathers' misuse and abuse. That we must raise our voice and we must start telling. But before that, let us be aware and let us take the individual actions in our own personal life as well as in our professional life. How? So I am coming into that point. But before that, what Krishnendu has already advised or already indicated about Bangladesh, that SOP and their line of action. See, this particular figure is showing sea wall and dike in Netherlands. And all of us, we know that Netherlands is such a country which is the whole country is situated below mean sea level. So that total country is surrounded by seawall and dikes, and they are fighting against nature from the very beginning. And by that way, they have developed the technology and the processes by which they are now the world leaders. And now all the developed countries like Britain, USA, Germany, Finland, all the countries who are already becoming serious about this issue, they are taking help of Netherlands to build this sea guards, sea walls and dikes. Of course, it requires massive amount of capital expenditure or that sort of planning strategy, etc. But from government level to safeguard their or the particular country's population or that particular the vulnerable portion of the country, government has to take that action. There is nothing actually left to the somebody's idea or decision, because it is certain solutions are there, globally available, indigenous solutions are available. A combination of all these solutions has to be taken without any further delay. That is the actually action need to be taken right now.
Sir, I have a question to Krishnendu sir. In past, we have seen that there is a politics, a type of green politics is going on in Delhi, that whoever give me a clean air, I will vote for him. So what could be a strategy for people of Kolkata to counter this this issue of flood and this global change in the climate and climate refugee for Kolkata, sir?
Absolutely. No, actually, here you have a great role to play, I can say, because in Delhi as well in Calcutta, we have a huge number of citizens group, pressure group, NGOs who are tirelessly working on this in these fronts, and who can put pressure, and we have to this narrative has to come in the common people parlance, because unless these issues are being raised by people, common people, our neighborhood people, we cannot force politicians to act on this. Because I can tell you a small example. I live in Behala, and Behala is one of the worst polluted part of Calcutta. And all along, because a couple, 5-6 years ago, the James Long Sarani, which is one of the very important north-south corridor of the city, was being widened, and as many as 200 trees were chopped off, and there was a huge furor from the citizens. They actually stopped. PWD from cutting any more trees, and they forced PWD to replant, to do compensatory plantation all along James Long. Though those trees didn't survive, but the citizens actually forced PWD to replant those trees. I can give you another example. If you go to Jasor Road, you will find massive trees. Almost all are 500 years old. They are actually creating a fantastic avenue all along the road, and the trees are huge, massive. It's something to see to believe. And suddenly, government of West Bengal took a plan to widen Jasor Road, and there was a massive protest. And this protest actually forced government to change its plan. They said, okay, we will create another parallel road along Jasor Road instead of cutting those trees, because those trees are actually defending the local environment. Actually, if those trees are cut, if those trees are destroyed, the micro environment of that place will completely be destroyed. So these kinds of movements are very important to force our government to take note of them and to act on these issues. Otherwise, there is no future of us, because I can tell you, I have checked out the manifestos of all political parties, and I have seen that none of the political parties have a single line on environment, on climate issues, on air pollution, and I can tell you, I have written a story how the air pollution itself, only PM 2.5 count, finite particulate matter, is killing more people than the pandemic. We lost in Bengal itself, we lost nearly 1,22,000 people in 2019, and in pandemic we haven't crossed even 15,000 people. So air pollution is much bigger killer. But just see how much importance we are giving to the pandemic and how much importance we are giving to the air pollution.
I have same question for Abhijit sir. Sir, what can people can do to have this to fight against this disasters coming to us?
Okay, so before coming to the steps to be taken by the individuals or individual residents, I am just sharing some figure, some facts. Actually, globally, mean surface air temperature has increased to the level of 0.7 degrees Celsius, whereas Kolkata's surface air temperature has increased to around 1 to 1.2 degrees centigrade. So you please just imagine the difference. Average global increase in air temperature is 0.7, whereas for considering only Kolkata, it is somewhere near to 1 to 1.2 degree. Sea surface temperature in the tropical Indian Ocean, Kolkata is part of this Bay of Bengal that through Sundarban. It has risen by 1 degree Celsius. And globally, that sea level rise is caused due to two reasons. One is that glacial melt due to Arctic and Greenland sea ice melt. And another reason is for this, that expansion of sea due to the rise in temperature. But this Indian Ocean that rise by 3.3 millimeter per year rate during 1993 to 2017, that figure is available at this moment. So 3.3 millimeter per year during this 20 years period or 25 years period in our North Indian Ocean is purely due to surface air temperature increase only, not due to that glacial melt that addition. So beside the reason for this excessive air temperature increase, etc., and mushrooming of these air conditioners in every household, in every home. So if we just resort to particular our own lifestyle management, like that conservation of energy and water judiciously without any wastage, because we Kolkatans, we all are witnessing every day the way the street waters are misused and just drained every day. Since Ganga is very gracefully giving us that water, and we are wasting like that. So one day we have to pay the price. So we have to be very cautious about in our daily life for consumption of energy and water. And it is actually giving you two benefits. One is it is economical. it is saving your money, and another way you are just conserving that energy and water for your children and grandchildren for the coming days. This two-way aspect, if all the citizens starts thinking, I think lot of conservation steps would be actually initiated from our house itself. And outside that, instead of just riding individual car, so we can use this carpool system if it is extremely essential, or this public transport system, or cycling. Unfortunately, our Kolkata road area is very, very less. So this dedicated cycle corridor or cycle track, it may not be feasible. But say for considering our this daily commuting, those who stay nearby, like for example, my office, from my residence, my office is around 1.8 kilometer. I always used to just go by walking only, and mostly my colleagues, they prefer either their own car or by taking auto or bus or whatever it may be. So this much of distance can easily be managed by walking or by cycling. Just among my 350 colleagues in my office, only one colleague is adopting this cycling procedure. He religiously every day used to come by cycle. His residence is also located nearby, around 1.6 kilometer from this office. So that way, wherever possible, we can adopt this lifestyle. And another point is that the setting the air temperature or that AC temperature up to 26 to 28 degrees centigrade, and just by closing all the air gaps or the air escape route. And mostly in all the households, normal households, you may find that through this air leakage by window, door, etc., all this cold air is escaping, and the compressor is working tirelessly. So all these small steps can be taken so that your pocket will be saved and you will be really contributing to the great cause of energy conservation. And please remember, 1 unit is saved at your end is actually saving 2 units from generation at the generating station. So that way, that fossil fuel based energy generation also can be minimized. And of course, that renewable energy has come in a big way. It is very cheap. Unfortunately, in our this Kolkata and in the state of West Bengal, it is still not rampant due to government initiatives and policies, and also due to people are not very much aware about the benefits, multifold benefits of renewable energy, solar energy. So people has to be, first of all the people must be aware, and for their own children and grandchildren only, just forgetting about their own life and their own comfort. That is the ultimate action we need to take at this moment, immediately.
Okay, we are running to the end of this show within a certain minute. So before that, I want some last note from Krishnendu sir. Sir, do you have any last note to this for our viewers?
The only thing I really want to congratulate you for holding such a nice webinar. These kinds of events will actually make people aware, make people alert, and it will make a larger community, politicians, to act on these issues. I can only tell you that when we started writing on environmental issues, initially we were not allowed any space in the newspaper, because newspapers space were mostly devoted to political events, some cultural, social events. Environment was not. But in last 4 5 years, environmental issues are being recognized by uh, newspapers, editors, and they are actually highlighting these stories on the front pages. So things are moving, but not at the pace we require to move at. But I hope that some good initiatives and these kinds of initiatives which you organized, maybe a small one, but these are some very important baby steps towards that desired goal. So I hope that you will organize this kind of webinar more frequently to make people aware. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. From last 3-4 months, we are trying lots of different things. Till now, we have 700 students registered. We are offering free training online for the more than 700 students every Saturday evening 7 to 8. We having also a workshop free of cost, and we have some field visit where student can come and learn about this circular economy. You know, sir, circular economy is totally related with environment thing. We are also arranging a social, economical, and political webinar like this, where we are inviting distinguished guests to have their view on this circular economy and environmental aspect of our state. I would also like to have Avijit sir last notes about this program, sir.
No, what Krishnan Babu has told, I just add to that point only. I reciprocate his view, and let us be hopeful, because till we live, let us remain hopeful that some steps we will take, some steps would be taken by us, so that our children, our next generation will remain safe under nature, under the advantages what we all enjoyed till this age of life. Let our children also enjoy those benefits. With that hope only, let us pray to God just to save from that catastrophic disasters which are actually at the backdrop of Kolkata, or just waiting to be pounding on our this beloved city. Let it not happen. That's all.
With the hope of that we shall overcome, we are ending this show. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, sir, for coming to this show. For you people, it's possible for us to have that beautiful show with you. We will meet again in the next show. Till that, bye bye.
Thank you.